I'm not sure you have seen this video, okay? This came out June 7th, so 3 days ago, and it basically shows, as the tweet from Brandon Murphy says, anti-LGBT protesters attack pro-LGBT demonstrators outside of Glendale, California. School board meeting. The school board is voting on recognizing June as Pride Month. Okay, so they have that meeting in that school, and they're very angry. They're like, no, you can't do this. So it leads to violence, and it is very clear that it says anti-LGBT people attack, and you can kind of see it in the video. They attack the pro-LGBT people. Okay, there's like physical violence where they're like, no, we got to stop these groomers, as they like to say, right? They're like, yeah, they're all groomers. And we've seen these stories countless times. Let's be honest, okay? We've seen it so many times that we get violence in recent years, more and more, against gay people, against trans people, against drag queens, violent protests in front of libraries because, you know, men wearing women's clothes reading to children and stuff. Now, we have Puckett replying, who is, I think he's also a pro gamer, if I'm not mistaken. Oh god, don't nail me down on this. I think he is. This happened 4 blocks from my Overwatch League apartment. Okay, he plays that game. Americans are in a sad place right now. Let people love who they love and live your own life. Thank you, Puckett. Thank you. Why do you care? How does it affect you? It's like Black History Month or Pride Month, and you're like, I'm so pissed. Why? It doesn't affect you. But anyway, we're gonna get into that later on. Okay, I'm gonna get upset at a later point in this video. Right now, I want to take it step by step, because FaZe Nickmercs, who is a FaZe Clan, right? Like FaZe Clan, I believe, is I don't want to lie, and he's well connected, right? Like I think Hutch knows him, and TimTheTatman knows him, and you know he's like a kind of pro gamer, and he replied the following to what we just saw: "They should leave little children alone. That's the real issue." Okay, and this tweet is still live. Okay, I'm reading this right now. He did not delete this tweet. Okay. They should leave the children alone. The children. It's all about the children. Now, this shit had massive consequences for him, because this dude is so big that within Warzone, he had his own character, like his own outfit, right? That was designed all around him. I'm not familiar with him again, but big thing. Activision, based on this tweet and on this statement, said, you know what, dude? Fuck off. We're going to delete your outfit. We're going to remove you. He's not banned from the game or anything, but they removed basically his presence. Okay, and I believe I have the statement here as well. Hold on a second. It's right here. It's right here. I'm well prepared. Due to recent events, we have removed the Nickmercs operator bundle from the Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone store. We are focused on celebrating Pride with our employees and community. Now, it has to be said, okay? Activision has no clean slate. Do you know what I mean? They f***ed up big time. Activision had their own scandals. We all remember I did videos about this shit where they had these bans where people would be moving through the offices at Activision, harass women, harass everyone, stop them from working, getting wasted. You don't want to know what exactly happened in that stuff, and now they're like, well, you can't say this, okay? Now we are blocking your operator. It could be a sign for them moving into the right direction, right? Where they're like, okay, we want to change, we fucked up. And like they say here, we want to celebrate Pride with our employees and our community. I don't know. I'm just saying the way this is phrased, and it talks as if they are like an innocent entity. It's just bullshit, okay? And we don't need to talk around this. It is absolute nonsense. The replies to this kind of stuff are overwhelmingly on the side of Nick, okay? Where they're like, very disappointing. I love your games growing up. You should respect the diverse opinions on the issue of LGBT pride, okay? Sexualization of children isn't the hill you want to die on, okay? We're protecting the children. Do you not understand that? The children need protection, okay? I'm gonna get into that in a minute. I'm kind of building up to a bigger thing here. So many of the replies are like that, okay? Found the P word, right? People are instantly jumping and saying like, oh, you know, the children, they want... If you counter that, if you say... we have to protect the children, and you ban someone for that, then that must be automatically that you are against children, that you want to do harm to children because you don't subscribe to the idea of helping children, right? Right? Is that right? Now let's talk about this a little bit, because many people reply and say, why can't he say this? Why can't he make a statement like this? What's wrong with this statement? They should leave little children alone, right? That's nothing wrong with that statement in and in itself. That's the real issue. That they don't leave the little children alone. That's the real issue. And I'm gonna break down for you guys now why. Because people really genuinely seem to not understand why this is a f***ed up thing to say. Absolutely brain melting to me, okay? But let me explain it to you how I would probably explain it to a preschooler. Because obviously it is built around the argument of saying anyone who is part of the LGBTQ movement or, you know, cross-dresses, is trans, anything, is grooming children. That's what this says, right? They should leave the little children alone. They don't, because they groom them, right? They're grooming these children, and that is the real issue, that these people are grooming these children. Now, before we get into this whole thing, we have to establish the ground level that that narrative is just nonsense, okay? That narrative does not exist in the real world. I'm not saying that no gay person or no trans person or no, has never, let's say, for example, groomed a child and then abducted it. And I'm sure shit happened, okay? Stuff happened. But the idea that people who are part of the gay movement, the LGBTQ movement, and so on, are grooming children, right? I mean, think about this. Because part of this whole problem is that the word grooming has lost all meaning. So the idea to say that people who are gay, people who are trans, people who cross-dress, who are drag, that children who see this, right? Let's say you go to one of these readings in a library and there's a drag queen reading child stories about being honest to yourself. And there's this man cross-dressing a drag man, drag woman reading to these children, okay? The idea that of grooming indicates that these kids now become gay. Because they see this, they're like, they become gay. That is such a twisted approach, okay? Because it also implies that children understand this person as a sexualized person. Understand that drag queens in libraries don't dress up like drag queens in nightclubs or gay bars, okay? They are colorfully dressed, okay? They do wear makeup, but there's nothing sexual about it. And if you just for 2 seconds activate your little conservative brain, then it makes no freaking sense that a child sees this and automatically turns gay or turns... It makes no sense. The narrative of we have to protect the kids from groomers is a lie. The whole thing is a lie. It's based on anecdotal single cases. By no means does it have widespread relevance. Okay? It's not a real issue. It's not a problem. It doesn't exist. This is kind of the baseline we have to set. People believe it exists because it's been like dramatized and amplified like insane by right-wing and conservative people, because most of them make money with it. You know, they're like, if we push the groomer thing, every single time we get X amount of clicks more than everyone else. So they push it and they push it. It's based on lies. The whole thing is a lie. It's a cloud that disperses when you blow at it because it has no substance. Okay? So that is the groundwork you have to understand for this whole thing. So when this dude says, when this Nick says, they should leave the little children alone, that's the real issue, he's already telling everyone that he's fallen for this dumb, false narrative. Now, it can be compared to other times in history where people have said, no, all they do is they take your money. They are not nice people. Whatever they do, all of them, all these people, they just want to take your money. And that was the Jews during the Third Reich, during the heat up to the Third Reich, right? It didn't start in one day. There we didn't talk about LGBT people, gay people, or anyone, who's like not agreeing with the idea of traditional marriage. There we're talking about Jews. And the narrative was not, they're grooming the children. I swear probably that was also a narrative that the Nazis were feeding. They were like, yeah, the Jews are also, they take your children and stuff like this. It's the typical brain amputated fascist propaganda narratives that you see. You take a group of people and say, they do this thing to the children. And now nobody can disagree. Whether it's true or not, at that point, it doesn't even matter, because the children, how could you possibly disagree? Right? We have to protect the children. It's an invented excuse to justify hate towards a certain group of people. Okay? That's it, basically. That's all it is. And even more deranged, they use children as an excuse. They bring children forward to say, we have to protect the children, the groomers. Hide your eyes. Don't look at this, right? They use children in this mechanic to spread their hate, to discriminate against a minority. How freaking deranged and broken that is from just a mental point of view, you know what I mean? It is in such a dark place, the whole thing. It's unbelievable. You know, the complete unawareness of everything I just said in these people, in this tweet, is the actual shocking part of the tweet. Do you know what I mean? He's completely unaware of the things that are going on and that are going on, and to him what is going on, and to many others as well. Not saying it's a lot, it's 75,000 likes, you know what I mean? The children. We have to, because how could you, the children. It's absolutely fucking despicable, man. I swear to God. I'm disgusted by this shit, man. I'm not only disgusted by the statement itself, I'm disgusted by the unawareness of this fucking clown. Of everything I just described. He's just falling for a lie. He's just repeating, regurgitating a obviously dumb narrative. You know what I mean? Like, it's as dumb as saying millions of immigrants come over the border every day. That's the level of stupidity. It's like, yeah, there are immigrants coming. It exists. Nobody says it's not. But these numbers, the scale of what you're putting this at has no proportion to the reality. Yet these people are like tripling down on it, For them, it is like they are in their little hole in their head where they think that is the reality that they should be living by. So that's the actual shocking part. The unawareness of these clowns. Jet says, that's the funniest part about it. They think that giving kids knowledge of non-traditional marriage romantic relationship means they are destined to be one. It's a bonkers logic. Exactly. It's insane. If you just filter it through normality for a second, any normal brain, any brain that like has received education and understands slightly more complex processes would be like, yeah, that makes no sense. It just makes no sense. But so many people are like, yeah, no, they're grooming the children. Think about it this way as well, like, when you were young, I saw drag queens. In Germany, we've got big carnival stuff. And part of the carnival is that all these drag queens come out and they're on the carnival floats and they drive through the city and throw you candy and shit. Like everyone else, not just them. It's like a big float, like a parade of floats. Everyone throws candy. And they're part of it. And I remember talking to my mom about it. It's like, dude, that's a man, right? And she's like, yeah, that's a man. It's a drag queen. They do this. They enjoy cross-dressing. Some of them are gay. So I spoke to her. She's like, okay, interesting, cool. And then I moved the on. Okay. And when I saw this kind of stuff even younger, even it's a man wearing a woman's dress, you don't have a sexual, if you're 7 or 8, you don't have a sexual understanding of these things. Okay. You don't know that this is a sexual thing. That is only the conservatives outside the door of the library screaming and kicking on the floor. Those know that drag queens also go to gay nightclubs and dress differently as they do in the library. Okay, they know that that's a sexual thing. The kids don't even know it. So it's insane. It's another flaw in this logic. Like, it melts my brain. I swear to God that these people are never like, hold on a second. None of this makes sense. Like, even the term grooming in this particular case is like, it's just inappropriate and wrong, right? But hey, there we go. To me, the LGBT community are being unfairly lumped into an issue of many others are discussing around the trans issues. Charlie Walker, I know you always have more conservative opinions. I appreciate that comment, though. I really do. I disagree. To me, it's all the same, man. If I respect gay people, then I respect trans people. There is no difference, okay? The only thing, which is an interesting parallel, is that it feels like in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and going until today to an extent, we had the same things happen with gay people, right? Almost the same story, where gay people were discriminated against. There were camps where they tried to do therapy to gay people to remove them, and everyone's like, this is not normal. Gay people, not normal. It's the exact same accusations, everything we see now with the trans movement. One-to-one, the same thing. I see this whole trans thing, it is just a repetition of the gay thing in the 60s, 70s, 80s, because people need time to adjust to it. They're like, what? Trans people are a thing? No way. That's not right. And in the 60s, 70s, like, what? Gay people are a thing? No, that's not right. You know what I mean? And probably in, 10, 20 years time, it's going to be another thing that they just can't acknowledge, because the truth is trans people are just a thing. It's just a thing. It's always been. It always will be. Sure, you can create a society where everyone is scared to come out, to be trans and say, bro, I'm hiding. But if you create a society that's more open, that has Pride Month and that celebrates it, like people are more willing to come out and say, you know what, yes, I'm part of this as well. I am a trans. Like, for example, I don't know if you guys know Anthony from Linus Tech Tips, right? He came out as trans, right? The other week. Let me find it. He's called Emily now. Okay. And he's come out and he's living as a trans woman. And from now on, we're going to call her Emily. You know, and I'm cool with that. Like, why not? Why the not? If this makes her more comfortable, what does it mean to me? If this person, I mean, in this case, nothing, because I never speak to this person. But even if I would meet this person, she would be like, you know, yes, I might look like a man, but I'm a woman and I want to be called Emily. It's like, cool, why not Emily? Let's have a beer, you know. Let's sit the fuck down. What do you do, Emily? You know, what are you into? What is the big problem with that? Suplem says, why a drag queen should read stories to children? What is so important and constructive in it? That's the question. I tell you what it is, dude. It doesn't matter. That's why. Whether it's an old lady from the library, whether it's a clown from a circus, right? Bring the clown in. Or whether it's a drag queen. And I'm not putting a drag queen on level with a clown, but I'm just saying for the children, it is just a colorfully dressed person who reads you stories, and kids love stories. That's it. That's where it begins. That's where it ends. There is no more complex issue at work here where the children suddenly become gay or lesbian or whatever the fuck it is. It's just a colorfully dressed person reading children's stories. And they're not wearing like, you know, like bras and shit that is like, these are all just false narratives that the right creates. Do you know what I mean? And I was about to say, like, about Anthony and Emily now being Emily. Like, the right always amplifies it as if it's everywhere. It's like, we can't accept this. Why would I call her Emily now? We can't, as if it's everywhere. Everywhere you go, everyone is like, you enter a building, everyone's like, so this guy's pronoun is this, that guy's pronoun. It's not real. It's a delusion. It's an amplified thing that is not real. You know what I mean? The same with the whole grooming kids thing. They build these sandcastles, or cloud castles is the better analogy, and believe it. You know? It's absolute insanity. David Wolf says, why shouldn't they read stories to children, Sublime? Exactly, that's the thing. Why not? Like, it's just you're making a thing of it. Nobody else gives a You know, it's insane. Charlie Walker says, what I mean is that often I get called a transphobe because I think that trans women should not compete with biological women. I don't think how this makes me against my brother who is gay. The community is so large and diverse, with millions in the UK alone being part of it. A niche issue over here is not an issue over there, if that makes sense. So this is the thing you see a lot, right? This argument, they have these core arguments where they're like, well, I just don't want them to compete in the sports, right? Because they win every time. It's like, no, actually they don't. If you look at the numbers, they don't win every time. And often there are biological women in women's sports who are bigger and stronger than trans women in that sport. So it's another false narrative that gets insanely, you know, inflated and amplified so that people like Charlie Walker, unfortunately, believe it, that it is like unacceptable that a trans man. I'm not saying don't look at it. If you have people who just seem to exploit it, you know, giant guy, and he's like been married for 45 years training and he has his life, everything, suddenly he's like, oh, I'm trans, and now he wants to compete to get a gold medal in. But that's, again, it's not the reality. That's not what is happening. Okay, you gotta look at the real world. You can't just say, well, in the sports, and then the real examples kind of fall flat. There's always one or two examples you can point at, but that's not how it works. Again, it's an amplified problem that doesn't really exist as you describe it. Let's dive back into the story though, okay? Because I've kind of derailed a bit now, talking about why the whole thing is nonsense. Because he comes forward and he has this statement, right, where he's like, they should leave the children alone. I don't want to quote him wrong. They should leave the children alone. That's the real issue. So it's not looking good for him, okay? However, TimTheTatman, who some of you, if you're in the world of Call of Duty are, then you have heard of this guy. He also has his own skin and bundle in Call of Duty. You can play as TimTheTatman, okay? I'm not the biggest fan, whatever. He plays a lot with DrDisrespect, kind of got famous on his back, feels like. But he had the following to say, okay, about this tweet and about Activision removing Nickmercs' skin. Let's listen to TimTheTatman.
A lot of you saw what happened with Nick yesterday. So I'm gonna just say this at the front, man. I love Nick.
Love him.
I talked to him for about 30 minutes last night.
Good guy.
I know him, bro.
Oh, yeah.
And I truly do not think he meant to hurt anyone.
I agree. I agree up to this point. I don't think he wanted to hurt anyone. Okay? That was not his intent. But
With what he said. It really... All I can say is this, man. Tatman Army, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. All right? We talked for a while last night, and... he's doing all right.
But I'm not going to take a clear statement against what he said. I'm not going to say that what he said was actually kind of fucked up. Because ultimately, it is exactly these kinds of statements that trigger the hate that the whole thing started with. You saw the video in the beginning of these people beating up LGBTQ protesters in front of that school. Why do you think these people are so agitated that they go there and beat these people up? Why? Because of dumb statements like yours. Because of statements like, they should leave the children alone. We gotta protect the children. Statements like that are the ones that cause this. Okay? I'm not saying that Nickmercs personally, as the only single-handed force, has now with this tweet caused a riot. But that's why people are pissed. Because it's these statements that give people in their heads the license to act like a baboon. Okay? And beat up people who say, you know what, if you want to be gay or be trans, okay? Or grooming kids. This is why this is so fucked up, okay? It's a messed up statement. And TimTheTatman doesn't feel like it's like the point where he should kind of say, well, what he said was messed up for this and that reason, like I just described. But at the same time, I know the guy, he didn't mean to, that would be an angle to talk about it. But he didn't say that.
That's all I can really say on it, man. That's all I'm really going to say on it. A lot of you saw what happened.
That's it. That's his statement, and it's like, fam, how about you fuck right off, okay? But that's not everything. Okay, it gets even freaking worse. DrDisrespect chimes in. Look, I'm not a big DrDisrespect fan. I appreciate the work that he does because he's really committed. He streams the insane hours. He has this character that he creates. He has been doing this for 15 years now. From the first 2/3 of his career, he wasn't like a huge streamer making that huge money. He worked hard on it. He's committed. Okay, he's doing his thing whether you like it or not. However, he had his moments that were bizarre. Like when he talked about those Shanghai crystals. I don't know if you remember DrDisrespect talking about oh yeah, I have these Shanghai crystals. And it's like, you know what it is? It's like a fucking healing crystal. You put it somewhere and then it's like the energy of the fucking stone. You know what I mean? So he had those moments where you're like, okay, bro. And he was like, I'm going to put these Shanghai pyramids all around my house for the energy. Maybe that's part of his character. Maybe that's part of his role. I don't know. I don't care. But he had these moments where I was like, yeah, okay. Let's see what he had to say about this Nickmercs thing. Okay, that we're talking about here. Let's go.
Is uninstall the game. Number one. I mean, don't get a mistaken. This year's Call of Duty is the worst in its franchise.
Controversial statement. That's a different video.
But that decision by COD's PR marketing team, I'll tell you right now, man. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to digest for the two-time.
Hold on. Let's just pause here for a second. Why? Why is that a hard one to digest? So here you have a guy that you know, a friend of this dude, and he makes this statement that clearly puts fire into this debate, right? That is like saying, leave the children alone, yeah, it has clearly this connotation. And disrespect is like, that's a hard one for me, bro. It's a hard one. he might just mean that Activision took that drastic step, that's a hard one for him to digest. It might also mean that he's saying, bro, the fact that they think this is a problematic thing to say, that's a hard, you know what I mean? So I don't know where he's coming from in this particular comment. And it's kind of fucked up nonetheless.
I feel like, A, they either need to apologize publicly to him or reinstate his bundle in order for me to consider playing Call of Duty again. That's where I'm at. We just don't...
He goes as far as blackmailing Call of Duty. Do you know what I mean? He's like, I'm not going to play your shitty game, and I'm a big influencer. I'm one of the big characters in Call of Duty for sure, within that franchise world. Not playing your shitty game until you return this character and apologize. Apologize. It's like, yeah, we're so sorry for this guy's transphobic statement affecting our decision. We're sorry. Like, how the do you apologize for something like that? If you understand how messed up it is what he said, if you get the context, how can you apologize for it? It makes no freaking sense, but it kind of reveals quite a bit about DrDisrespect beyond anything else. You know what I mean?
That's a tough one. That's embarrassing. Holy shit.
And this is after last night where he called out Call of Duty PR for all of this. And a lot of people have now responded. We're talking mainstream news. The past 24 hours, complete madness. Doc finished off by saying that he doesn't talk politics.
Oh, yeah. He's like, I'm not talking politics, but bro, hate against trans people, that's freedom of speech, man. Okay? I mean, sure, look, they're already beating them up, right? We're already getting, like, trans people being, or like pro-LGBTQ protesters being beaten up by but bro, freedom of speech. Let the man put some gasoline in the fire. What are you talking about? Right? It's so messed up, bro. It is such a messed up story. And the fact that DrDisrespect actually chimed in, that he actually went for it and always like, I'm not talking politics, but this is a clear political statement, in my opinion, as I read it, So, bro, I don't know, man. The whole thing is pretty fucked up, I'm not gonna lie. If kids don't care, then they have no concept. Why push it? Because it doesn't, nobody's pushing it. It's just one thing. On Tuesday, it's drag queens. On Friday, it's Mom Smith. On Thursday, it's that woman. It's just a thing of many. It doesn't matter. Nobody's pushing it. That's another right-wing narrative where they're pushing these LGBTQ. And nobody's pushing it. It's just a thing. The reason why it's such a spotlight on it, it seems to be everywhere, is because you guys, every time a rainbow flag pops up, put a huge Batman-sized spotlight on it. It's like, look at it, a rainbow flag. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck if a man in female's clothes with lipstick reads to kids. The whole thing is, like you said earlier, beautiful in one of the comments, like, you try to create a sense of normalization of it. In the sense that if you're a kid and you feel like, dude, I feel kind of weird about this gender thing, be open to talk about it. That's it. Don't be scared, don't be shy, don't be afraid. Talk about it. Come forward, talk to your parents, talk to your teacher, talk to someone you trust. Try to turn this into an issue that is really in the center of society. Like being gay now, being gay is not such a big thing like it used to be. It's been normalized. How do you, Sneezy, as a person with a platform, speak to those who you disagree with and stay somewhat respectful? If it's agree or you're bad, that's polarizing. Look, I see your point. Thank you, Butterfly. And I still haven't forgotten your comment. There's still a comment that you wanted to say that you spoke earlier. And I want to get back to that. I still have that up there. So here's the thing. You're trying to make a fair point. And I appreciate that. But certain things require a pushback. Certain things are not opinions. If you come to me and say, bro, I hate broccoli, cool, man. That's your opinion. I will respect it. I will cook, in fact, everything without broccoli that normally has broccoli in it just for you because I know you hate that shit. Not gonna do it. Respect your opinion, okay? If you come to me and say, bro, we work in the same office, Steve, I fucking hate Steve, okay? And for this reason and that, he's an arrogant twat. Hate Steve. Cool, man. Maybe I like Steve, whatever. It's an opinion. It's your opinion. I'm with you, okay? I can't argue with it because it's a legit opinion. You hate something or you like it. But when it comes to the rights of gay people, the rights of trans people, the rights of these people, it is such a basic thing that when you say, well, you don't agree with this person, so you're disrespectful, it's polarizing, you know what I mean? I'm heavily disagreeing with this standpoint because it's that is a hateful, polarizing statement. I follow by this rule of saying, I respect everyone and give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Anyone, whether you're an immigrant, whether you're poor, whether you're rich, whether you're pretty, whether you're from any cultural background in the world, I don't give a shit. I will give you the benefit of the doubt, bro. We sit down, you might be a cunt, you might be a nice dude or girl, you know? We'll find out. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. The only people that I don't give the benefit of the doubt are people who are hateful towards other groups. If you are hateful, then you deserve to be hated. If your agenda is, even you try to justify it by, we have to protect the kids, even if that's your shitty excuse, but your agenda is, the gay and LGBTQ agenda has to be stopped, then you are hating against human beings as a whole group against a whole group of people. So now fuck you. Okay? I never say this to anyone, fuck you. As I said, I'm tolerant toward anyone. But the second I meet someone who's fucking intolerant, that's the moment where my tolerance ends. And that's why I'm not being disrespectful to them. I'm explaining them how this shit works, okay? Because they clearly don't get it. If you get Farah saying, why was this fucking comment transphobic? That shows me that dude can't think 5 meters ahead. What these comments by influencers like that do, who get 79,000 likes or whatever it got, 75,000 likes on his tweet. He doesn't understand. He's a brain amputated aunt. You know what I mean? There's nothing left. So this is there's a difference between saying, I don't like this thing, that's an opinion I disagree with, and I hate this whole group of people. You know what I mean? There's a difference. It's a denial of reality, but it's been indoctrinated into people's brains for so long and repeated by right-wing channels for so long that people don't say stop anymore. They're not like, hold on a second, this is messed up. Like, this shouldn't happen, you know? It's just kids, LGBT, groom, kids, and the brain is off. The brain, there's nothing left. And we see it on here on the channel as well, in the comments, with people like Farah as well. That's why I try to be respectful, but the opinion is just so dumb. I just have a hard time to imagine that someone can be so dumb to look at this comment and say, bruv, why is it a problem? Bruh, you don't even need to be like smart to understand where the f that's coming from.